Hello again to another Agakala reaction. Today we will be watching 10 terrible movie trailers and then the film rocked from whatculture.com. And they usually have very good videos. And let's just see what trailers they're gonna be and how many of those trailers made me not to see the movie. Because that's possible. I do like my trailers.
Every one of these
Wait, I have to scratch that now because I used to watch pretty much every trailer, like a lot. No, not so much. I see the trailers when we go to cinema, before the movie.
The actual end product was vastly superior to the shoddy teaser footage and often bizarre sequences that were thrown together in these lackluster advertisements. But that still won't change the fact that you would have been forgiven for initially thinking about giving the following eventual hit flicks a big old miss after being put through the all-round awfulness on show in these particularly dreadful trailers. Gareth here from whatculture.com, and here are 10 terrible movie trailers, then the film racked. Number 10, How to Train Your Dragon. It's often forgotten just how
absolutely love that cartoon.
First ever
Absolutely loved it. Yeah, the trailer didn't make me want to watch it at all. It's just basically it wasn't watching the streaming services one time, and it's just I think it must have been Netflix, because Netflix sometimes does those things that just gives you a piece of the actual movie, not the trailer, but it's actually the piece of a movie or a show. And this is how actually Netflix got me to watch a lot of things, including The Expanse, my now favorite show. The Expanse, I've seen the trailers and stuff, and I didn't find it that interesting. Till actually one time on Netflix, there was just basically, there's a scene, I think that was when they were already detained by the Martian soldiers on, I can't remember the name of that warship, but basically James was with the captain and the rest of the crew was just sitting confined in the thing, and then they started being shooting and stuff, and that actually made me want to watch it, and I did watch it. I binged watch it for next weekend, I think. And the same thing with this
animated flick actually was. This may have been the same studio that brought folks everything from the Shrek to the Kung Fu Panda franchises, but the initial look at the first big screen outing for Hiccup, Toothless, and the rest of the gang just felt like another forgettable family caper destined to be forgotten about, like the prior year's So-So Monsters vs. Aliens picture. That Jay Baruchel narrated early glimpse into the lives of the folks of Burke and their daily struggle with fire-breathing pests barely highlighted just how much of a charming and unexpectedly deep tale was heading fans' way.
I love the fact that the live action coming out and Toothpick, is it? Toothless is actually the same. I love it.
And the consistently gorgeous animation that would eventually become a trademark of the franchise is also largely undersold here in favor of focusing on some of the poorest one-liners present in the entire feature instead. Thankfully, the promise of an all-star voice cast consisting of the likes of Gerard Butler, Jonah Hill, David Tennant, and more was enough to convince most folks to give this dragon-stuffed future smash hit a chance. But many quite understandably found themselves wondering what all the fuss was about after witnessing this somewhat flat first look. Number 9.
Yep. I did not see Jennifer's Body, and the trailer definitely didn't make me watch, and just not the movie that I would like to watch. It's kind of like a thriller thing. I'm not really watching thrillers too much, so yeah, that would be the reason for it, not just the bad trailer. So yes, okay, I shall see you soon. Okay, I'm back. And we just jump into it. So, like I was saying, I haven't seen the Jennifer's Body, but the trailer, it wasn't just the trailer's fault. The whole premise of the movie just didn't get
Number
very
9,
interested.
Jennifer's Body. In more of a case of a film being marketed entirely wrong, rather than the trailer itself just being straight up dreadful, the trailers for Karyn Kusama's eventual cult hit Jennifer's Body had most assuming they're about to witness little more than another dumb slasher flick, starring some well-known faces. But the focus on all things sexy Megan Fox and her possessed Jennifer Check, chowing down on various teenage victims, only really told half the story, and this shameless attempt to market the dark comedy towards horny young lads did a huge disservice to the real core of the flick, that being the central relationship between Jennifer and childhood bestie Needy. A blatant sex fantasy for boys, this most certainly was not. It was a commentary on girl hatred, sexuality, the death of innocence, as screenwriter Diablo Cody put it. Cody also lamented the fact the studio opted to market this to boys who like Megan Fox too. As the years would roll by though, Jennifer's Body would eventually go on to become an unquestionable feminist cult classic, with its wholly misleading marketing now acting as another damning reminder of the times it was initially released in back in 2009. Number 8, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. After sitting through the official
That's
trailer
Jim
for Michael
Carrey movie,
Gondry's
isn't it?
then incoming apparent comedy by the name of
Another one I
Eternal
haven't seen
Sunshine
it.
of the Spotless Mind, yet another quirky and wholly bizarre slice of Jim Carrey shenanigans were what most were likely expecting to witness down the road. That could not have been further from what Gondry had been cooking up with this surreal exploration of a rather complicated relationship and how one copes with suffering or heartbreak though. The early trailer itself kicks off with an eerie infomercial selling the concept of having your troubling memories of a bad relationship erased by the Lacuna organization. So far so good, but then things take a strangely upbeat turn with the introduction of the Mr. Blue Sky tune and a splattering of joyful visuals that completely no-sell the heart-wrenching drama that was inbound. Eternal Sunshine ranks as easily one of the most impressive spins on the rom-com genre of all time, combining a genuinely deep and moving tale focused on a volatile romance with absolutely inspired filmmaking throughout. And those
Yeah,
oddly vanilla
definitely.
first
I
glimpses
definitely
simply
seen the
didn't
trailer
do this
for that.
masterful piece of
Oh yeah,
work
come
any
on.
justice in the slightest. Number 7, Hellboy.
I think it's just...
Achieving the polar opposite.
Hello. This is a rom-com and looks like a bit of a science fiction rom-com. That's definitely something going into my thing. But no, I haven't watched it, so... yeah. Hellboy? Yeah, another good
What the
movie.
most recent attempt to unleash
I
Big
can't
Red onto the
remember
big screen did in
trailers for
2018,
it.
Guillermo del Toro's first Hellboy outing had folks feeling a tad concerned as its release date edged closer, whereas the David Arbor starring eventual flop at least had the sense to push the titular badass as the undoubted MVP of the upcoming creepy action fest. The 2004 Ron Perlman flick's teasers seemed to forget why folks wanted to see the picture in the first place. Instead of regularly showing off one of the finest superhero performances of its time, one boasting irresistible charm, depth, and boatloads of glorious violence, the trailer mostly told the story of what was on the way through the lens of the most boring personality it possessed, that being Rupert Evans' John Myers. Sure, there were still a few cheeky quips thrown in by the lovable demon, but Hellboy is mostly just shuffled into the rest of the supernatural BPRD pack, which is a rather unforgivable sin seeing as though his name is on the damn tin. Hey, that rhymed. All the awful marketing in the world still couldn't keep Perlman's Anung Unrama from stealing the show, and the film itself from smashing it, however. Number 6, Star Wars. Now sure to expect a gripping piece of teaser footage on par with the
Well, I
sort
can't
of
say that
regularly
they were
explosive chunks
trailers
of action often
that
found
I've seen
preceding
before the
features in
movie came
cinemas today.
out. Mostly from the reason that the movies came out before I was born. So, you know, I don't even know, were they making trailers back then?
All the way back in 1977 would be a little bit unfair. That being said, it's still pretty tough to imagine anyone sitting through the first look at George Lucas's ultimately groundbreaking jump to hyperspace that was Star Wars back in the late 70s and thinking a game-changing space opera was on the way. The entire thing is just so damn peculiarly chopped together, you'd be forgiven for assuming a frightening dose of sci-fi horror centered around the unlikely romance between a large hairy Wookiee boy and a frequently frightened princess was being served up down the line. Many of the sequences looking unfinished, the awful sound mixing, it being tonally all over the place, and Han Solo's blaster not even firing off, you know, blasts, have all helped immortalize this specific advertisement for the Skywalker saga starting first episode as one of the most infamously awful of its time. Thank goodness most weren't put off by whatever the hell this was, and chose to embrace the spectacle light years ahead of its time. Or perhaps one of the greatest franchises ever produced may have ended up like the title itself in the closing stretch of this dud of a trailer. Number 5, Frozen. There is absolutely no denying the fact that the little ball of frosty enthusiasm that is Olaf is one of Frozen's most consistently side-splitting elements. But Disney's animated epic comes equipped with far more than a few tiny snowman sight gags and one particularly adorable moose. The flat first look at the soon-to-be...
I do have to say that I haven't seen it when it came out, but it's not like I was going to cinemas that much back then. We didn't have... well, first of all, Eric wasn't here, living here, and I... were going to cinema every now and then, not that often. So, and I did watch it like way after it came out, because I was kind of sick of the song, you know, Let It Go.
Instant classic way back in June 2013, however, showed absolutely zero sign of any future iconic ballads or the central sisters who would help establish the winter masterpiece as one of the most beloved and well-crafted animated pictures of modern times. Instead, the aforementioned snowy mascot took center stage, battling over the right to possess his carrot nose with the furry Sven in a 90-second clip that sold the incoming Disney outing as little more than a sickly sweet slapstick entry that many a parent would likely dread being dragged to. When you were boasting some of the most catchy Disney anthems of recent times, captivating personalities like Elsa and Anna, and some of the most spectacular visuals ever committed to an animated project, why someone decided to put the spotlight onto a snowman and moose battling over a vegetable when trying to get folks on board with this eventual hit is anyone's guess. Number 4.
Wait, a Matrix had terrible trailer? Really? You don't have to say that, I don't remember that. But then I'm kinda terrible if it comes about the science fiction and stuff like that, so I probably would be finding it interesting anyway. So yeah. Yeah, I'll be back in a moment. And I'm back. So number 4, it's Matrix with terrible trailer, although I don't remember. I don't know, maybe.
Number 4, The Matrix. It cannot be overstated just how much of an impact the Wachowskis' 1999 sci-fi outing by the name of The Matrix had on the movie-making business, meshing a gripping tale of humanity finding itself somehow trapped inside of a virtual reality with some of the most jaw-dropping and out-of-this-world visual effects ever to grace the big screen. Neo's quest to top of the machines is about as iconic as they come, yet the mind-blowing action and consistently engaging story that unfolds over the course of 136 minutes of brilliance was largely sold short when it came to the film's trailers, it must be said. In fact, one particular piece of marketing material spent around 2 minutes seemingly talking fans out of the idea of taking a chance on the Keanu Reeves starring action thriller, with much of the early look getting far too bogged down in exposition and unintentionally hilarious taglines like "You live as a slave." It's only in the final moments when the genuinely compelling action that would ultimately go on to immortalize The Matrix is finally given a moment to shine, though you likely nodded off long before Keanu let out his legendary "whoa." Number 3, Drive. Like many a casual moviegoer back in the early 2010s, one particularly frustrated individual assumed they were set for an action-packed, Fast and Furious-style injection of fun when they settled down to take in the Ryan Gosling starring Drive back in 2011. But little did they know that this riveting feature focusing on a largely silent stunt/getaway driver had next to no interest in churning out countless edge-of-your-seat set pieces and cheesy one-liners. This was actually a somewhat relentless, consistently gritty and emotional neo-noir ride that was a whole lot more thoughtful than it looked in those early trailers. And that's precisely what led to the aforementioned spectator going out of their way to sue the folks behind the feature for misleading them into thinking a story akin to a Vin Diesel petrolhead extravaganza was on the horizon. Yet while that person in particular may not have been too pleased about the surprise that was waiting for them upon purchasing a ticket for this cinematic trip, many others simply found themselves being unexpectedly treated to one of the most enthralling dramatic spins of the time. Number 2, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Vibrant, charming, refreshing, and constantly fun, all rather accurately sum up the experience of taking in Matthew Vaughn's first Kingsman mission almost a decade ago. The fact the big screen adaptation based on the titular comic didn't try to just lazily follow in the footsteps of another rather well-known spy franchise was a cinematic breath of fresh air, with Taron Egerton's Eggsy brilliantly taking center stage as the chav-turned-super spy, alongside Colin Firth's effortlessly smooth Galahad, trying to foil Samuel L. Jackson's mesmerizing Big Bad throughout. In all honesty though, that all likely caught many off guard a touch on the back of Kingsman's official trailer. Said footage showcased the incoming action-packed spy thriller parody of sorts, as well, yet another dose of standard 007-esque espionage drama and little else. Again, there are definitely a few Bond flickers in there for sure, but there's a lot more joy and silliness to be found in the Secret Service than this particular trailer lets on, and you would have been forgiven for giving this apparent young Bond tale a miss based on this hugely bland and paint-by-numbers piece of advertising alone. Number 1, John Wick. Sticking with action movies that insanely undersold the absolute delight that was about to land in front of film fans in cinemas all around the globe, I'd love to tell you that few will ever forget.
I might be a terrible trailer watcher because I have found John Wick trailer, really. That's what actually made me want to go and see it.
The first time they laid eyes on the eventually iconic presence that would become John Wick. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In actual fact, throughout the marketing of Keanu Reeves' then latest dive into action thriller waters, many were led to believe that the story of a dude out for revenge after the murdering of his pet puppy was destined to be nothing more than another ordinary mindless popcorn flick. Oh, how wrong they were, eh? On top of hardly even touching on the tragedy that forges the foundation for Wick's spectacular rampage, not nearly enough time was spent fully highlighting just how damn stylish and inventive the hard-hitting return of Baba Yaga to his cold-hearted killing ways of old actually was. Instead, this uninspiring trailer carelessly chucked a few somewhat unremarkable stunts, visuals, and one-liners at its audience, leading to a YouTube comment section overflowing with many a stunned fan claiming to have entirely underestimated John Wick going into the flick. And they unfortunately weren't the only ones. Because I'm thinking he's back.
I was so...
That's true though. Was that the end now? I'm thinking a really long ad here now, so yeah, I think that would be all in the video with the wall. And obviously my mouse is just doesn't want to work on me either. I just have all problems with this computer now, and well, you see, even the recording doesn't go smoothly. Okay, so let's just finish on this. And I gonna thank you very much. What you think about all those trailers and stuff? Ooh, interesting. And I shall see you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Bye.